because it's hard to see with the glasses on odd enough. Good evening, everybody. Hope that you've had a great day. Had a chance to get out for a couple of minutes this afternoon. The sun was shining. It almost tricked you into believing it's a nice spring day, but you know it's fall. This is Arkansas, and you know our weather changes at the drop of a hat. So I'm enjoying these nice little days of sun. We had that one cold day that morning. You had to get up and put the heat on in the car, and then by that afternoon you had the air on. Or am I the only person that was like that? My temperature be off sometimes. But you have those days where it tricks you until you come out of the house with a coat and a boot and some boots on, a scarf, a hat, and everything else. And by 12 o'clock, you down to your halter top. So you know this is Arkansas, so dress appropriately every day. A little bit of housekeeping. My name is Wonder, and this is the Lady Sound. I'm your host and creator. Thank you for those that have been following us and have liked the page. If you have not done so already, please go to Facebook and like us on the Lady Sound Wonder Low. Same thing on YouTube. And I'm going to apologize to anybody who's been going over to YouTube. Y'all, I have not updated in quite a while. And I'm getting ready to take some vacation time here in the next couple of days. So one of my things at the top of my to-do list is to update the YouTube page and get the videos up and get them loaded and get everything back on track. So even if you haven't, or if you decide to, make sure that you go over to YouTube, hit the subscribe bell so that way you can see new videos if they're posted. And I promise y'all, next week I will have that updated, and I'm gonna try to do better. I'm not gonna promise you, but I'm gonna say I am gonna try to do better. So I thank you all for those who have been faithfully tuning in every Tuesday night. And as always, I want to make sure we go ahead and get to our subject. I'm not going to do any news or anything tonight. We still know that we're still living in a pandemic. We still need to be masking up, washing our hands, and keeping our distance. Now, I know that we kind of got a little bit lax, and I'll say we because I've been doing it too. We've kind of gotten a little bit lax because now we don't see, it's not so many reports of the numbers rising so much anymore. And it's getting close to the holidays, and everybody wants to kind of hang out and be around family. Still be careful. Still make sure that if you have elderly relatives who have compromised health systems, even younger relatives, kids, whoever it is, make sure still that you're still using those same precautions that, if at all possible, that you're going to be in a situation where it's kind of close quarters. Make sure you're still wearing your mask. Make sure you still wash your hands. Make sure you're cleaning your surfaces. And then make sure that you're keeping your distance when it's possible. So I'm like y'all, it's in that time of year where you want to hug people and you want to be close and you want to spend that time with your relatives. But, for some folks that still might not be a thing. Now, we're also getting into the season where, we have seasonal mood disorder. Some people this time of year get a little bit more depressed, get a little bit down because we're getting ready to go back in. Remember, we've been out kind of free. During the summer, you can kind of get out and socialize. The weather is nice. Well, we're getting ready to go back in, and it's going to get cooler. And that's going back into some sort of isolation for some folks. So make sure that you are calling and checking on your elderly relatives and your elderly neighbors. And I keep saying elder, it doesn't matter. Call and check on people because, since the pandemic started and we've had to isolate it, we were all in quarantine in the beginning and everybody was kind of separate in their own little bubbles. Mental health is taking a huge hit. So you have people going through a whole lot of different things. So make sure that if you hadn't seen somebody in a while, just hit them, text them or drop them a call. If it's possible to go by, just, hey, knock and stand back and then just see if they're okay because we're getting ready to go back into the season again where it's cold and older people stay in more and you might not see people as often as you have. So if you have neighbors or friends or relatives or whatever it is, you hadn't seen them in a couple of days, make sure that you go by and check on them and make sure that they're warm. What I will try to do, because every year around this time we have, a lot of accidents and stuff that are related to the weather by it being cold and people needing heat and wanting to use different heat sources that may not be so safe. And then, get house fires and all this other stuff happen. Is that I will try to find a list of resources. So if you know somebody who's dealing with a situation where maybe they don't have adequate heat in their home, or they're struggling to get just something as simple as blankets or something to keep them warm, I will try to put together a list and post that. Now, let me make sure that everybody knows that'll be a local list for people that are in Pulaski, Saline, Central Arkansas area. It won't maybe be for everywhere all over the state, but it'll be local. But I'll try to find some resources and post those on my page and kind of share that. So if you do know somebody that needs that help, we can get that for them. So that's all of my housekeeping stuff. That's all of what I can think of to share with you right now. But I want to talk about this. Now, everybody knows this pretty lady. Wait a minute, I'm pointing that way. Everybody knows that pretty lady sitting up here beside me. Actually, she ain't sitting beside me, but y'all know what she is. She's been on the show several times, and tonight we're going to talk about setting healthy boundaries. And if you read the little description I have for the show, you know that sometimes us not setting those healthy boundaries, whether they be personal or professional, can cause us trouble. And by trouble, I mean stress. It can cause dysfunctional relationships. There's a whole bunch of other things that can happen when we don't set those healthy boundaries. So, my guest, who is a regular, and I love it, is Dr. Theresa Flowers, and she is a licensed social worker, and she's the owner and therapist of Cedar Faith Counseling and Services LLC. She is a native of Nashville, Arkansas. Dr. Flowers earned a bachelor's of social work from Flanders Mill College, a master's of social work degree in direct practice with mental health clients from the University of Texas at Arlington, and her doctorate of philosophy in social work from Adelphi University. Dr. Flowers is a clinical therapist who has completed advanced training in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy. That's a tongue twister. And brain spotting. She has over 13 years of mental health experience working with children, adolescents, adults, and families in a variety of settings, including secondary schools, universities, hospitals, community, state, and federal agencies. In addition to her clinical experience, she also has experience teaching at the university level, conducting research, providing academic and professional advisement, and public speaking. And she is also one of the owners of, make sure I say it right, Plush Picnics, right?
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yeah.
So, yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And we're not going to be long tonight because I know you had a day. And
Yeah.
you need to get some rest because we got to do this again tomorrow. So,
Yes.
real quick, thank you for coming on. And you're welcome as always in the Ladies Lounge. But just real quick, tell the folks a little bit more about yourself.
As Wonder said, I'm a clinical social worker, and so I've done social work in a number of capacities. I'm a creative person, so I find myself doing a lot of things. Cedar Faith, for some people who don't know, really came from a jewelry business that I created a couple of years ago when my sister graduated from culinary art school. She had asked for a mustard seed necklace, and when I seen them, I was like, I can make that. And so I did. And then people asked about it. And so I started selling those and uh, had a jewelry line. I guess I should say have a jewelry line of Cedar Faith mustard seed necklaces and earrings. And so um, I don't know. She mentioned plush picnics, which I started with my business partner and friend Leandra Sanders, and doing offering luxury picnics to people in Central Arkansas. Just something different, different experience. I love an experience, and so that's where that kind of came from. But always looking to educate and empower people, especially in the Black community, around issues of mental health. There's still so much stigma and bias, inaccurate information being given out, and so it's really important for me to be able to provide a different voice as someone who is a part of this community who grew up in what some folks would call the hood, and having a variety of experiences throughout my life to be able to share and make mental health um, a commonplace thing, a conversation we can have, and understanding how if we take care of our mental health, we take care of our emotional health, and oftentimes our physical health. A lot of physical pain some people are in is not because they have physical pain. That's not the root of it. The root is the emotional and mental pain. And so I think when people recognize um, that you can live a quality life and a happier life when you address these things, is becoming more normalized. I won't mention names, but someone I love dearly told me tonight that they were going to start mental health therapy. I was like, look at God, all this time. And so I knew it wouldn't come from me because they couldn't hear it from me, and that's okay. And I wasn't upset. But when I heard it, I was super excited because I'm like, yeah, you've experienced a lot. And so I'm glad that they're stepping out and willing to do that work now.
That is awesome. We talked one time before you were on, and we were just talking about during the pandemic, of course, and we mention this quite often, how much mental health was affected. People have, we go back to what I just said earlier about being quarantined in the very beginning and staying at home, and then being isolated, and a lot of people were alone. And now we're getting into the holiday season, and you know, to me, it kind of starts over. I can remember years ago when I worked in the hospital that admissions would rise around this time of year, like that week before Thanksgiving, all the way through the end of the year. People would be admitted to the hospital, and a lot of times they were not sick. They really, literally were just depressed and they were lonely. And one of the ways for them to not be alone was them coming to the hospital and just come and staying. And I
Mhm.
used to be surprised by that. I'd never in my entire life even thought about that being a way to not be lonely. I mean, who wants to actually be in the hospital? But you had people that their doctors would check them in because they were depressed. So let's talk about, I guess, a little bit of seasonal disorder first, and then we'll get into setting the boundaries, because I want to make sure we don't miss either of the boundary setting stuff. So,
Okay.
mhm,
So, with the seasonal affective disorder, it's very real. I know that I am a summer baby and I love the sun. I thrive when I am around the sun. And something I noticed that I did this year was, and I think it's because of COVID and being, I wasn't in as much as other people because I worked. I worked for a federal program. I worked at the hospital. I had my private practice. So I
mhm,
had to be out. But I wasn't out just for fun or individual purposes. But I've taken so many pictures this year of me just sitting and basking in the sun with the sun hitting my face directly. Um, and so it is very real. And a lot of it's related more so to the weather and the change in the weather, the lack of sunlight. We have more dark time now. It gets dark earlier,
mhm,
um, and so for some people, um, I know for myself, I have an allergy to cold weather. So I deal with allergies year round, no fun. And but I know that with the weather change, it makes me feel tired. And then when it's dark
mhm,
at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, it makes me feel really tired. And I know
mhm,
other people who suffer in that kind of way. So it's a double whammy. But with the seasonal affective disorder, one, if you notice the huge change in your mood and just recognizing you don't feel like yourself, I would encourage you to speak to your PCP. They typically are able to diagnose, or if you have a therapist, talk with them. Some of the things I suggest to people when they know this about themselves is you could buy a sunlight. They sell them on Amazon. You can find them in other places as well, and you could just Google it, and they'll give you options. I don't have a direct recommendation or anything,
mhm,
but lighting is really important. But those lights have like a specific type of light that is supposed to kind of replicate sunlight. Um, and so it's very helpful. Another piece to what you're saying is the issue around loneliness. So
mhm,
anytime I meet people and they tell me, "Oh, I'm new here. I don't know anybody. I don't have friends." I'm like, "So who do you spend time with?" I just go to work and I go home. I be like, "Oh
right,
no, we're friends. My friends are your friends," because I really the research and the statistics about what loneliness does to people is
mhm,
really, really scary. It reduces
wow,
people's life expectancy. People are more likely to be depressed, and that comes from isolation. Um, so, encouraging people to stay social as much as they can safely. Like you
mhm,
said, have that phone call, go to lunch with somebody, cook and invite somebody over, talk to your neighbors. I tell people it's kind of hard for me to feel completely lonely because I'm super friendly. I don't meet strangers, I meet people I've never met before.
mhm.
Um, and that's a family thing. So my flower side of the family, that's how we operate. We talk to everybody. Um, but having people to connect with is really important. Physical touch is really important. Studies
Hmm.
have shown over and over getting a 20-second hug from someone can help and boost your mood and improve the quality of life. So if you have somebody who you love and you have a healthy boundary with, who you don't mind touching you, then get them hugs in. I have friends that they know. I used to call one of my guy friends and be like, I just need a hug. You come meet me. Let me get my hug. You good? You good? Okay. Bye. Just because we he understood the importance of that. Um, so it's just important to be aware of these things and to communicate with someone and let them know if you start to notice it for yourself. I know for myself, it makes me feel a little sleepy, and then my mood isn't the greatest. Um, it's just different, and so I do think just being aware. Talk to your PCP if you have questions about that.
So I'm probably like you. I can tell now. Most of them, we'll just say this about there's a big debate about daylight savings time. My anxiety kicked in the moment I realized the time was going to change. Now after it changes, not so much, but something about that getting dark at 5:30 bothers me. And you're right, because then as soon as it gets dark outside, you start feeling sleepy, you start feeling tired, and your body automatically thinks, I don't know, it starts shutting down earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that too. And I noticed that, like I told this evening, I worked, I took a nap. And it's like I have to take a nap. I don't know why, I just had to. It's dark outside, you're supposed to be asleep. So it's something about it. And it does make you feel way more tired. It does kind of bring your mood down a little bit because I'm like you, I love being outside. I prefer
Mm-hmm.
to be outside in the sun. I don't like hot weather because I'm a February
No,
baby.
but I
But I
like the sun
prefer,
though.
yeah,
Yeah.
I prefer being outside. And y'all know I love to fish. So outdoors by water is my good place. So
Mm-hmm.
when it used to be this time of year where you're getting off work late and by the time I drive home, it's almost dark. So I can't go fishing. So I can't be
God.
outside. I gotta come and sit in the house. And then at 6 o'clock, I swear it's 9 o'clock at night and I'm sleepy. I'm tired. I'm ready to lay down. So it just affects this time of year affects people in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably need to find that light you were talking about. Because
I'll
you
try to find a link to send to you because I've sent it to a few clients that I work with that we
mhm,
were prepping for this before it got here. And
mhm,
so it's one of those things when you know that it's going to happen, go ahead and start preparing yourself.
yeah,
Um, the change in the weather, the sun issue bothers me, but it's the huge weather change. If we get below 50
yeah,
degrees, I'm in trouble.
yeah,
And so I could tell when it's going to be super cold. My sinus tell me I I hear myself. I sound a little
yeah,
congested. But I
nasally.
also know, yeah. But I also know I'm really tired today. But I'll be
Yeah,
okay. I'm gonna go do some self care stuff when I get home.
yeah.
So
Well, that also too, because I'm like you. I used to call them seasonal. My allergies are no longer seasonal. It's just year
okay.
round. Because if it's
It's
too
just
hot,
different things that trigger it
yeah,
depending on what time of year it
yeah.
is.
Because if it's hot, it's dust. If it's cold, it's cold. So depending on what's going on, either way it goes, I'm sniffling or sneezing or doing something. So they just year round now. I don't even. It's to the point where you just know what happens, so you just stop even thinking about it. So
Yeah.
okay, so we get that part about the seasonal. I almost said it wrong. I couldn't remember the name of it that fast.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Thank you. Effective was like totally gone out of my brain. But now
Affective
we'll talk
disorder.
about the setting the boundaries because again, like we said
Ooh.
earlier, when we don't have boundaries in our personal and in our professional lives, things kind of go awry. So I'm gonna turn it over to you from there.
So one of the things I like to tell people is one thing I know about people is I can tell you how your self-esteem is based on your boundaries. People who have a healthy sense of self typically do a better job of setting boundaries with others because they can tolerate people not being happy with them or liking them because that the fact that they have a boundary. Um, and so when we talk about boundaries, one of the things that I see this often in my practice. I see it with family and friends, and I talk about this a lot. I've been practicing implementing boundaries for a long time. I've pissed a lot of people off, and I don't care because I would tell people no. When I recognized that people were being abusive and
Hmm.
taking advantage of, we give a little more grace to people we love and care about. And
Yeah.
so sometimes those people, though, take advantage of that and having to tell them no. And so I remember in college, maybe, I really had to set some firm boundaries with my mom. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. You're not asking anybody else to do that. Why do you expect me to do it? No, I'm
Hmm.
not. And that didn't feel good. That wasn't comfortable. And oftentimes in Black families, we are taught that you don't tell your mother no.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care if you've grown. And there's a lot of toxic generational stuff that we pass down to people. And so one of the things that I tell people, because a lot of people get afraid and nervous when you mention boundaries. They
Hmm.
think that it means you have to be mean, you have to be rude or disrespectful, and it's the complete opposite of that. When
Yeah.
I think about boundaries, I think about love, I think about respect, and it really is, where's my line? Um,
Hmm.
where it has to be a point that we go, we don't cross this. And so when we talk about boundaries, there's three ways to kind of look at boundaries. We have physical boundaries.
Hmm.
Physical boundaries are you a person who doesn't like to be touched and you don't want people touching you?
Hmm.
Um, and this changes as we get older. Sometimes when we're younger, parents don't help children learn how to implement healthy boundaries because Uncle Billy wants to give the kid a hug and the kid doesn't want to. And they're told, stop being mean, go hug your uncle.
I hate that.
I do too. And
I
I
hate that.
am very intentional with the children in my life or children who I meet that if I speak and they don't speak, I don't take it personal and I tell
Hmm.
their parents to leave them alone. They get to set a boundary that if they don't want to talk to me, I don't have to talk to people I don't want to talk to. Why am I going to try to make
Exactly.
um, and so the physical boundary of people expecting you to hug them or to kiss you or any of these things that you get to tell people no. You could tell people, I don't like to be hugged. I don't like to be touched. Naturally, I'm a hugger. And sometimes when I meet people who might be a good friend of someone I know, I'll be like, can I give you a hug? And if they say no, I'll be like, okay, cool. And
Hmm.
just go on, not taking it personal, but asking for permission to touch people because you don't know people's life and you just don't know people. For some people, it's not that anything bad happened to them or inappropriate, it's just the fact they don't want people touching them. Some people
Hmm.
have sensory issues. And some people just, they like, it's something about your energy that's off to me. Don't touch me. I'm one of those people. I don't want everybody touching me. Everybody don't need to lay hands on me. I believe in the transference of energy and spirits. I don't know what you got on you. So
Oh, that
stay
is
over
me.
there. Don't touch me. Um,
No. I,
sorry.
I want to say amen real quick, but yeah.
A person popped in my mind who was just
Uh,
like, mm-mm, don't touch me, stay over
hmm.
there.
Hmm.
And I'm very adamant about that. And so, honoring that in children as well, we do have a lot of people who have experienced some form of abuse, whether it was physical or sexual, that involved inappropriate touch.
Yes.
And it can be triggering for them. Um, we know that there are people who exist in families who do inappropriate touch when they touch people, uh, kissing them on their face or patting them on their butt. Now, if
Hmm.
it is your family's tradition, I don't believe in telling people what I deem as appropriate, inappropriate, unless it's involving children. There's some lines here.
Yeah.
But if adults in a family. I come from a family, we hug on each other and we tend to kiss on the cheek. But sometimes my little niece the other day got a whole cold and was like, I was like, girl,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
you gonna have me sick. But if she's not sick and she wants to give me a kiss, I'll give her a kiss. That's my baby. Now, if my sister told me I don't like that you do that, I wouldn't do it. So everything in proper context. I think sometimes we talk about these topics and people talk about it without any context. And so people take that as the hard and fast rule. The rule
Mhm.
is one, you need to ask for permission. And two, if someone asks you not to touch them, just respect that and honor
Yeah.
that. Um, so your personal boundary, your physical boundary of your physical space, and who you want in your space, who you don't. Sometimes I meet people and they want to be under me and too close. And I'm like, can you step back, please? Again, transference of energy and all that. Move back up. But a lot of people struggle with telling people no.
Mhm.
No is a complete sentence. And it can be really hard because I know for myself, the way I process is
Mhm.
I want you to understand why I'm saying what I'm saying to you. So I used to explain stuff for days. And then I was like, I'm wore out. I come to work, do therapy process with people, and now I got to process. Never mind. No.
You say just get it over with. No.
Well, why won't? Hey, my boundaries are for me. It is not my job to make you respect my boundaries. The way people respond to your boundaries is really important. I'll touch on that and then I'll get to the other two components of boundaries when we're looking at boundaries. But the way people respond to your boundaries is not your business. I don't want them to be mad at me.
Mhm.
You are not responsible for other people's emotions. That is not your responsibility. So, speaking of emotions, emotional boundaries are really important. Uh,
Mhm.
and this is taking responsibility for your emotions, and being able to take ownership of that, where I can acknowledge that what someone said or did, I didn't like it. So now I feel angry or frustrated, but I can't expect that someone else has to take responsibility for how I feel. This is where when we get in good relationship with people,
Mhm.
those people will care about how you feel and how they make you feel, things that they do that impact you, and they won't do stuff intentionally. The
Okay.
reality is we all gonna do something to bother each other. The difference is what kind of relationship do we have? Can we talk about it, and bring it to the table and share? It's my responsibility. If we had an encounter, um, and you said or did something that I was offended about,
Mhm.
I can't assume that you know I'm offended.
True.
It's my responsibility to say, hey, Wonder, you remember the other day when we were talking and this happened? I took offense to that. I don't know if that was your intention, but this is how I felt when you said and did this or that. So using I statements is really, really important,
Mhm.
and being able to communicate how you feel with people. But from an emotional standpoint, when people say, I'm so sad and it's all their fault,
No.
actually, nobody else has control over your emotions but you. People can do things that have an impact, but taking that responsibility is important. Also, the mental boundary of being able to express your thoughts to people instead of assuming people can mind read. Again, those things were kind of combined, right? You said something that offended me. Well, now a good emotional boundary is I get to articulate that to you and say, hey,
Mhm.
this happened. I was offended. And how you respond to me will then determine how we get to be in relation with each other.
That makes perfect sense.
So a lot of people struggle with this because people want they They want other people to take it on because they don't want to do the work. And
Mm-hmm.
so, some of the things that I encourage people to look for in their relationship are things that I pick up on from people when I know we have to work on boundaries. Is when people can't say no without feeling guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I need to quit this job. It's stressing me out, but I don't want to leave them hanging. They gonna have to figure it out. And I'm like, why are you worried about the people? I'm not gonna tell you my favorite phrase, but my friends know that if you know me, you know what I tell folks when it comes to that. Taking responsibility for your own actions. Well, that's a part of taking on the. But when people can't take responsibility, abusive people, we often hear, "I did that because you made me."
Yeah.
I hit you because you made me. You made me mad.
Yeah. Because I
I
picked up your hand and physically punched myself with. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Taking on the responsibility. I don't want to say that because I don't want nobody to be mad. I don't want to hurt their feelings. And letting people do stuff to them, but then being mad on the back end.
Yeah.
You didn't say anything. You went along with it.
Yeah.
So some unhealthy boundaries, expecting others to know what you want or need, saying yes to things you don't want to do, making decisions based on the opinions of others, stuffing your feelings in order to keep the peace. I ain't gonna say nothing because if I say something, then it's gonna pop out. And you
Yeah.
keep stuffing, and eventually it's gonna be a blow up.
It's gonna explode.
Expecting someone else to make you happy. I'll be happy when he do this. I'll be happy when she do that. That ain't gonna work. That's not how it works.
I will
It,
admit that probably everything you just listed, I've done.
so, and here's the reality. Most of us have. The difference is this how you operate all the time? And you
Mm-hmm.
could tell because these are people who often feel victimized and abused. They feel like people are always abusing them and using them. Thinking you can change someone and make them happy if I just do this. Being afraid to disagree. Ignoring your feelings and being afraid to express your thoughts and ideas because you think that other people won't agree with them or it won't be
Mm-hmm.
valued. Here's the reality: some of this stuff comes up. Uh, I think that as you get more comfortable in your own skin,
Mm-hmm.
you get to a place where you can go, everybody don't have to agree with what I say. Um, I am more aware of how I need to say it. I share it with you. Sometimes I can be in meetings with people and I'm just very direct. And I also know things that vary for that. If I'm really tired, my filter is, I don't have the capacity
Mm-hmm.
to do the extra layer of work to try to make it sound cute for you so you don't feel away. Now, I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to be rude, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And
Mm-hmm.
so, one thing I learned early on in my career, one of the first awards I got working in a group home setting was Theresa sets firm, loving boundaries. I
Okay.
cracked up laughing because I was like, that's not really what y'all want to say. That's y'all professional way of saying it. But they knew that the tough families, those were the families they gave me because I told people, this is what it is. I'm coming to help, but what
Mm-hmm.
you, this is what we're not doing. And if you do those things, I'm either going to, you'll be written up for our program or you will be discharged. I won't tolerate your abuse. I don't have to be abused. I don't have to take people's abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. I don't care who it is. If you are older adult in my family and you don't know how to talk to people, guess who you don't get to talk to?
Hmm.
Limiting people's access to you when people disrespect your boundaries. And
Yeah.
people learn over time. A lot of times people are afraid that people will stop talking to them. And they're right. Some people will. And
Mm-hmm.
that's okay. Being okay with that is really, really important. So we talked about the unhealthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some healthy boundaries and how we do that. Um, some of the practices. of helping to set healthy boundaries. It's learning to be assertive. I often ask people, are you aggressive? Are you passive? Are you passive aggressive? Or, or are you assertive?
Mm-hmm.
Most people struggle with trying to figure it out because they're like, I don't know. The aggressive person is, you did something to me, I'm coming back at you. I'm gonna let you know you did something, and I'm gonna cause harm to you, whether it's emotionally, physically, or whatever. You hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you. The passive aggressive person is, you hurt me, but I'm not gonna tell you you hurt me. I'm gonna tell you we good, but I'm gonna respond to you in these little offshoots, and I'm gonna throw shots at you. I'm not mad, we good. But when y'all talking, it's the little slick jokes, the slick comments, or you telling everybody else about it, but you won't address it. The passive person is, you won't say nothing and you just let it build up. You stuff, you let it build up. No, it's fine. They didn't mean it that way, but deep down you are really bothered.
Mm-hmm.
Really
I think
bothered.
I must be the passive aggressive because you're gonna do it. It's gonna irritate me. I'm not gonna slick you back, but I'm gonna deal with you accordingly from then on out. There's a certain way I'm gonna deal with you. I'm gonna limit your access to me.
But have you said anything to the person? Here's where,
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
for assertive people, you cause injury and offense to me, I'm going to communicate to you, when this happened, I felt this, and giving people the opportunity to know that they did something. Sometimes we assume people, oh, they know what they did.
Yeah,
Really, they don't.
that's
They
true.
really don't. And you haven't said anything, and you're expecting them to read your mind. And that just is not how it works. I am guilty as well. I tend to be pretty assertive, but I have times when I have to process stuff out with friends about situations. And it's like, okay, this is what happened. This is how I'm feeling about it. And sometimes it's like, no, you're right. And sometimes it's like, you might want to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And now the difference is if you have someone who's constantly offending and you know they know, okay, so now I get to set a boundary with you of how much time and space you have access to me. And I don't have to tell you, I'm cutting you off. You don't get to talk to me. You will know where I'll be like, oh, I'm not available. I
Mm-hmm.
don't ignore people. I feel like ignoring people oftentimes is a form of passive aggressive behavior. If something happens and I don't want to talk to you, I will tell you, hey, I'm not interested in speaking with you anymore. And if I want to have a conversation, I will. But if I think you're manipulative, I will not.
Hmm.
So, but being assertive, learning to say no. This is one of the biggest homework assignments I give to people. Hey, I want you to tell somebody no this week with no explanation.
Ooh,
Ooh,
I'm doing that tomorrow.
that's so hard. And let your no be your no. People who respect boundaries can tolerate a no.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Safeguarding your spaces, setting boundaries about your spaces. I tell people often, tonight, if somebody's calling me to discuss anything drama related, I'll be like, I don't have the capacity for that. Most of my family and friends know this about me, so they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People know Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are therapy days for me. If you don't have no good news, if you ain't got nothing cool to talk about, or if we're not doing consultations, don't call me. I don't want to hear the mess. I don't want to hear the foolishness. I just sat 6, 7 hours today talking to people back to back
Wow.
about stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm not a dump truck. You don't get to come dump on me, and especially stuff that doesn't mean anything to me. I had to
Mm-hmm.
become okay with understanding that some people thought I was rigid or whatever because stuff that was appealing and comical to them isn't to me. And I'm like, we do different things for a living. I'm not saying you don't get to have fun, but I am saying I never know what people are bringing to me day when I have therapy sessions. And so it's really important for me to guard my peace and to protect my space. That means guarding what I allow to come in from music, from people conversations, TV, and etc. Um, so setting safeguards about my space is important, and it's just important in general. So, what does it look like to have healthy boundaries? Asking for what you want and need from those around you, being able to ask for help when you need it, being able to say to people, you know, it's a boundary of me telling people, hey, I have clients Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Text me. If you call, I'm probably not going to answer. I'll get back to you later. Um, Being comfortable saying no, I don't mind. No, I'm not doing that. No, I don't want to do that. No. Can I borrow some money? No.
No,
Can I use your car? No.
no,
Can I come live with you?
no.
No. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have to go back and forth about, but that's my little cousin Ray Ray Neal and my grandma Neal would say what I'm supposed to do. That's some of the stuff I hear people say because they do stuff out of an obligation. They
Okay.
feel obligated to do things and obligated by people who aren't contributing
Mm-hmm.
and who won't do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a big thing, feeling obligated to talk to family members and being in spaces with people who physically abused you, um, and family members saying, "But that's your cousin,
And,
that's your uncle." But didn't nobody
and
tell them that when they were being inappropriate?
exactly.
That subject right there will have me ready to fight people. I don't, but I'll be ready. um, Feeling safe and valid when expressing your emotions. I always tell people you need to have at least one person in your life who you get to practice vulnerability with and who you get to
Mm-hmm.
feel safe with. A lot of times we assume that people should already have this. Some people did not grow up in safe environments for whatever reason, especially in our adulthood. I have really good friends. I'm really, really thankful. I have really, really good family and friends and people who allow me to feel safe to be who I am. And I have one friend in particular, Dr. Robert Mays. We met via Facebook in a group for PhD students. He's also a clinical social worker. And we just clicked. And I told him, I don't do this. I don't tell people on the internet. I feel like you my friend. Like I feel like I know you. And we have become the best of friends. But Robert is someone who I've had the opportunity of practicing vulnerability with and being really vulnerable and honest and transparent about stuff and having a safe space where I can talk about anything, even if we don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't always agree. He's super into entertainment stuff. I'm not. But having that space is really, really, really important. Um, Also, knowing your happiness is your responsibility. Every day, I make a choice about how I want my day to go. Every day, we all, but some people say these people are made me, uh-oh.
No. Oh,
And so,
okay.
knowing that you're not responsible for someone else's happiness, being comfortable disagreeing. I don't have to agree with everything people say. People think differently than you. That's what make the world go round. That's what make us different. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so being able to tolerate that and also being comfortable changing your mind. Sometimes I feel like this is my hard and fast. And when it changes, uh, sometimes people be like, oh, I thought you said. I'm like, I did, but I changed my mind. I did, and I
That
changed
is
my mind.
probably, I'm sorry. That is probably one of the things I think, and when you said that, I promise you something in me jumped. Um, I have a person that I don't care what's going on, whether the decision be for good, bad, or other. If I've said yes, and then later on maybe something changed, and I said, well, you know what, maybe we can do blah blah blah. Well, I thought you said. Okay, first of all, I have the right to change my mind because it's my mind, and if I want to, I can change it when I get ready to. What you don't have the right to do is try to throw that back at me.
Can we do a quick reframe?
Yes, ma'am, do.
Because, listen, first of all, it's the same sentiment to me as that I'm coming for you. When I tell you, first of all, I'm trying to get you straight. And so it has a form of aggression to it.
Mm-hmm.
A quick reframe of if I told you, hey, yeah, I could do that. And then later something changed. I don't care if the later was, I'm just tired. I don't want to. I'm not going to. And I say, hey, just wanted to let you know I'm not going to be able to do that. So if I say, well, I thought you said, that is what I said at the time. And I have since changed my mind. I'll stop the conversation there because I don't owe you anything more than that. Less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, I tell people when you find yourself using more words, you're typically doing too much. Anytime we get to the point where first of all, I could change my mind, you don't get to tell me what to do, and you don't get to slow down, killer. You ain't got to do all that. Listen.
Okay.
And so part of that is learning to pay attention to your thoughts and learn to pay attention to yourself and becoming more aware of how we respond to people. And I always ask people, how do you feel? Like sometimes we do just say because we wanted somebody to do what they said they were going to do. We were
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to it. And so sometimes it's not meant as a chastisement instead of because some people struggle with communicating and verbalizing and saying, if you told me you were going to be able to help me with something, then you say you can't, I might be disappointed, and the hope is to be able to communicate and say, okay, well, I'm sad or disappointed about it because I was really looking forward to you helping me with that. However, I understand that you have the right to change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, depending on the person will depend on how I go about asking them stuff in the future. I You know your friends, you know your people. It's some people I know I love them, but they flaky. So I don't ask them to help me do stuff that really matters to me because I don't want to be mad at you
Mm-hmm.
because you do what I know you typically do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with those people, I will say, and they might say, why didn't you ask me to help? Because my experience with you has been that you find a way to not show up for things that matter. And instead of me being upset with you, I chose to ask people who have been consistent. If they want
That's
to have a
something nice.
conversation, we can conversate about it. Learning how to communicate. Everybody grown until it's time to communicate.
That was a very nice way to put that. Because and I can tell you, even when I was just telling you about it, in my head, I did go to that.
And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes
Yeah.
we have to pay attention to our body language, our tones, and the words that we speak. And what's the intent behind what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
If your intent is to communicate that, hey, I have a right to choose what I need to do for myself and I get to change my mind, then just say that.
Mm-hmm.
It cuts out the confusion of, well, I wonder what she meant by that.
Oh no, don't
Sometimes when
get
people and I
confused.
are texting and I don't really understand the context, like I seen what you said, but I don't really know if you meant that how I'm taking it. So sometimes I'll pick
Mm-hmm.
up the phone and be like, hey, so I read your text, but I just wanted to get some clarification. Or sometimes I'll text and say, hey, I'm just trying to clarify. Is this what you mean by that? Can you tell me what you
Mm-hmm.
mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
I do that with people who are being passive aggressive, people who are being rude, and they're saying something, and I'm going, "Did you just say what I? Can you tell me what you mean by that?" Now, that might mean I try not to be aggressive with people, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm either assertive or I'm aggressive. I don't have time to be passive with you, and I don't have time to be passive aggressive. Only time I think I'm passive aggressive is in an intimate relationship, where sometimes I might like I really want to fight with you, but then I catch myself saying slick stuff. So I might as well just say what I need to say, so we don't even have to go through this. But that's me being aware. But I'm typically assertive, but I can be aggressive at times. I used to be really aggressive. If you
Mm-hmm.
said something, you was gonna know how I felt about it. I was gonna say it with my chest, and I was gonna posture you so you knew what I meant. When your father tells you, people don't really argue with you because don't nobody got time for that because you I was like, ooh, I gotta work on that.
Now I don't know if it's a compliment now or I don't know what it is. A person told me the other day, I have a nice, common spirit, and that you are the kind of person that can get somebody together and never raise your voice. And technically, I can. I can smile at you and say the harshest things ever to you. And the only thing you're going to get is the same face I'm giving you right now. But you will understand that I mean what I said.
Being
That
passive aggressive and stuff.
I'm good
Being
at it.
passive aggressive. Being
Look,
passive
I'm very
aggressive and
good
stuff.
at it. But it was just funny because I can remember even in high school, somebody told me the same thing. So apparently I have not changed that. And she used to
I don't
say,
remember.
something is wrong with you anytime you can actually, now this what she said, anytime you can cuss a person out and smile the whole time, something is wrong with you. So, and then the other day, I know this person has never seen me angry with anyone. They've never seen me speak anything other than how I'm speaking right now. But it was just funny. She said, you just have that face and that way about you that you can tell somebody and put them in their place and never stop smiling and then tell them, God bless you, and walk off. And I'm like, okay, yeah. But I'm going to be honest with you, I can yell, but I don't like yelling. I
I
don't like
used to,
confrontation.
and I learned that I don't have to yell. If
Ooh.
so, a boundary. If I'm talking to someone and they
Hmm.
keep raising their voice and they start talking like this,
Yeah.
I will say to people, "Hey, if we're going to continue this conversation, I need your voice tone to match mine. If we can't have a conversation like this, I'm not going to have this conversation with you."
Exactly.
And I leave. I
Now
remove
that I'm good at.
myself. I'll remove myself. I don't have time to be yelling. I know when I'm losing control, my voice gets screechy and high
Hmm.
pitched. And so,
Mine apparently gets deeper and smoother. So the
no,
more
when
I
I'm
talk,
being agitated, when I get mad, it's a different story. And I could hear it, I could tell it, I could feel it. And so that's the stuff where I tell people a part of setting boundaries and all of that is self control. Having
mhm,
boundaries with yourself. Let's get into that real quick because we
mhm,
always talk about boundaries with other people. But
yeah,
how about we know Thanksgiving coming up and people talking about they going to lose 20 pounds, aka me, and then tell Wonder, hey, can I have a slice of pie? You say, hey, you want a whole pie, and instead of me being like, no, I'm trying to lose weight, let me just get that slice. Get a whole pie.
yeah.
Boundaries with yourself is holding yourself accountable for what you do and don't do, and giving yourself limits about how far you will and won't go. And people really struggle with this because people don't want to practice self control. But we get mad at other people who won't practice self control. I've learned a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to control other people and won't spend the time putting the effort into controlling themselves, which is the only
Mm.
person they have control over. I
But
can't control
controlling
other
people
people.
don't know that.
Well, they heard it tonight, maybe, if they're listening. And so if they come see me, they know it because I tell
They,
people, hey, worry about, worry about yourself. Like the little baby told her daddy, worry about
what about
yourself.
yourself?
Like, put your seatbelt on. I got this.
You said just
And
drive. Worry about
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, you supposed to be driving, but you worried about me. And so understanding that, and I think when we learn to set boundaries with ourselves, we are better able to do it with other people. The holidays are coming up. Uh, it's very important that people really consider this. I just had a conversation today about who we're doing dinner at my house. And I had a conversation about who was not
Oh, we
invited to my
froze.
house. And if that means that certain people don't want to come because those people
Okay.
can't come,
Well, there we go.
I don't care. Stay at home. But you're not
Hmm.
welcome in my space. And some people, it's your family. Hey, go talk about that with somebody who care. At my house, we have peace. You won't come disrupt my peace. You won't bring that bad energy and all that stuff. No, I don't want you to know where I live, none of that. Stay at home. If you got to bring them, then y'all stay together, but don't come to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so that conversation was had, though. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't one of those things that I let people come and now I'm mad
Mm-hmm.
because they're in my space and I didn't want them there. Now you got me uncomfortable in my house and looking at me talking about why she being weird to me because I didn't want you here. So we're not going to do that. And having that conversation, setting that boundary is really hard for people because we love our families. We want to be with them. We want to be around people. Um, so just some tips and pointers around that is just deciding what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you communicate that to other people. They get to determine what they do with it. If you tell somebody, well, you can't come to my house, you come to my house, but they can't, and they go, but they're my people, and they choose not to come to your house, you can't be mad because they didn't come.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they didn't come over here, but you just told them, you gave them a parameter and they operated within that parameter. You don't get to use your boundaries to control other people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my strong encouragement that one, people reflect to see how are you operating with people. Are you assertive? Are you aggressive? Are you passive aggressive? Are you passive? I encourage people, let's be assertive so we could communicate like adults.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's teach our children how to do that. I talk a lot to my nieces and nephews. You know, my 7-year-old niece will have a whole fit because she can't get what she wants. And I
Mm-hmm.
sit there and look at her and then we talk about it. So you were really upset. It looked like you were really upset. What were you? I just want it. So we're trying to develop this tolerance in her that she can't always get what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to have to learn. You don't always get what you want. You get what you need.
Yeah,
And sometimes you get what you want, but not all the time. And if that means
exactly.
you don't sit here and cry, have a fit, then I get to set a boundary with you. If you sit here and cry like this because you were told no, then I'm not going to give you my energy to go to the park or to go do this.
Really easy.
I'm not going
Hey,
to yell and argue with you.
nope.
So,
We got about 4 minutes to go. Well, about 3 minutes to go. And this has been a wonderful, wonderful. I told you every time I talk to you, I learned something about how I need to act. So, and I got to stop doing this, which I
yeah,
like
don't
doing.
don't clap people don't clap people up. Me and teachers have had that
I like to
conversation.
do that,
Yeah,
but
that's
I'm
when
gonna
you
do
ready
better.
to fight. I'm ready to fight. When people clap you up, that's like, oh, you ready to fight. People get in defense mode and get ready to buck. You can't.
Look, I'm not gonna promise you I won't do it with certain folks, but I will try to do better. So we got about 3 minutes to go. So give us some things that we can use because, like you said, we're getting ready to go into the holiday season and we're getting ready to go into some stressful situations, whether we choose them or not. Because sometimes you show up and then other folks show up and it is what it is. But give us a couple of
Then
tips we
leave.
can use.
Then leave.
Well, then
Um,
leave.
you can.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna head out. SpongeBob 'em. I'm gonna head out. You get to control what you can control. So I really want to encourage people, one, to pre-plan, think about what it is you want to do for the holidays, and don't feel bad. And I really encourage people to communicate it ahead of time. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times I ain't gonna even say nothing. I just ain't going. But people made provisions for you and your family to come, and you haven't communicated you weren't going because you feel away. And so go ahead and pre-plan. Have those conversations. You don't have to have them with everybody. Have them with the safest person who you can have it with, and go
Mm-hmm.
forward with that. And choose your peace. Man, there's so much going on in the world that I don't understand how people keep choosing the mess. Because I, who has the energy or the time? So
Mm-hmm.
protecting your peace and whatever that looks like for you, but doing it in a healthy manner. You could set boundaries. You could have protect your peace without being rude, mean, or nasty.
True.
Uh, People who are rude, mean, and nasty, but they tell me they protecting their peace. I'd be like, you the disruptor, you the problem.
You don't know your problem.
Let's talk about it. Um, and just taking time for yourself, taking some time to figure out who you are. There is a book on boundaries. Oh, let me see if I could Google it real quick before we get off. I've talked about this book on my page before. Um, Henry Cloud. Yeah, it's by Henry Cloud. You can find it on Amazon, and John Townsend. But it's a really, really good read on boundaries. And I have found it to be very helpful. And what I often do is recommend it to clients, people who I'm saying stuff that they're not hearing me. So I'm like, hey, go read the book. And the first two chapters, they call me, they be like, ooh, that's me. I was like, uh-huh.
I need to
Usually,
read
if
that.
we are frustrated, agitated, irritated in our relationships, it's usually because of lack of boundaries.
I get that.
So pay attention to that. But be well, take care of yourself, do the stuff that make you feel good, build yourself up. Stop waiting for other people to make you feel happy. Go take care of yourself.
All right.
So
That's good
that's
advice.
all I got.
All right.
And
Well,
go
thank
find a
you.
therapist. Here you go. Go find a therapist. If you don't have it, can't figure out how to do it for yourself, go find a therapist. There are so many dope therapists out here willing to walk alongside you to assist you in developing these skills if you find it hard to do just with it on your own. And that's okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Flowers. I so appreciate you every time you come on. Like I said, I always learn something. It's been a great discussion, one Talita said. So I am just grateful for the information. We need, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I need to really make a list for all of the boundaries I need to set. But it gives you something to think about really in dealing with your personal and as well as your relationships outside. So thank you for that information. I appreciate you coming. And I know you've had a long, hard day, so I'm not going to hold you long. But you all please tune in next Tuesday. I thought I had my book close to me and I could tell you who's going to be on because, of course, I don't remember. But make sure you come back next Tuesday. Oh, we'll be talking to my guest from Mariana. She is a domestic violence specialist. So she's going to be talking about that because we know also one of the things that happened during the pandemic was that there was a rise in domestic violence. So we're going to be talking about that next Tuesday. So come back here, same place, same bad time at 7 p.m. For the latest Natural Wonderlove. Thank you all. Make sure that you like and follow and subscribe on YouTube. So we will see you again next Tuesday. And make sure you tune in this Thursday for May Rose Cafe Live on my personal page. I'll be doing some more. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing some more, maybe no-bake desserts or some sides or something for Thanksgiving to kind of give you some ideas and some stuff you can make. So make sure you catch me on Thursday also. All righty, y'all. It's been a good night, and we're going to go and rest and get ready for tomorrow. So y'all have a good rest of the evening. Again, thank you for coming in. Thanks, Dr. Flowers, and I'll see you later. All right. Bye-bye. Oh, I got to move that.